So today we're going to dive deep into the world of Nikola Tesla, but maybe not the Tesla you think you know. We're going past the usual stories about AC current, and we're exploring Tesla, the visionary, the guy who genuinely believed he was on the edge of cracking the fundamental code of reality itself. Right. We've all seen this quote. It's on posters, it's on coffee mugs, it sounds kind of cool and philosophical, but what if it wasn't just a nice thought? What if this was the literal foundation for a whole new way of looking at science? A theory of everything that some think was nearly lost to time. So where does this wild journey begin? Well, believe it or not, it starts with a simple, almost elegant flip of the most famous equation in the world. On one side, you've got Einstein's E=mc². It's a story of extraction. To get energy, you have to destroy mass. But what if we just flip it? What if mass doesn't contain energy? What if it actually generates the energy fields that build our entire universe? And that one little flip poses this huge question. Think about it. What if the entire story of physics isn't about taking things apart to see how they work, but about how things are elegantly put together in the first place? Not a story of extraction, but one of pure generation. Yeah, that simple flip takes us from a recipe for destruction, really, to a blueprint for creation. Let's really break this down. The classic equation, E=mc², it asks a question, how much stuff do I have to burn to release the energy that's locked inside? That's a destructive worldview, right? It's the logic that leads to splitting atoms. But when you flip it, mc²=E, it tells a totally different story, a creative one. It asks, wait a minute, how did this beautiful, complex energy field even get here? Suddenly, energy isn't a thing you get by breaking stuff. It's the product of a fundamental relationship. Okay, to really get this Architect's equation, we have to kind of redefine the pieces. Here, m for mass isn't just physical stuff. Think of it more like condensed information, a super-packed blueprint. And c², the speed of light squared, here it's a measure of relational intensity. It's basically how strong the connection is between those bits of information. So when you combine the blueprint with that intense relationship, you don't release energy. You actively generate the energy fields that build reality. But, okay, how is that even possible? I mean, where does all this generative energy come from? Well, the answer, according to this theory, is pretty mind-bending. It has to do with completely rethinking what higher dimensions are. And get this, they're not far away. They're right here, right now. The idea is called local dimensional invariance, or LDI for short. And it basically says that any dimension higher than our 3 just doesn't hide away in some tiny curled up space like we've been told. No. It says those higher dimensions are constantly manifesting as the 3D world we see and touch. Our reality, in a way, is just a shadow of a much bigger, higher dimensional object. And this is where it really breaks from the mainstream. You know, string theory usually says extra dimensions are curled up super tiny, they're inaccessible, kind of like hidden rooms in the basement of reality. But the LDI model says, nope, higher dimensions aren't hidden, they're actively being projected into our world, just like a movie being projected onto the screen of our 3D space. So you know those super complex geometric shapes that physicists talk about, the blueprints of reality? Well, this idea totally flips the script on them. They aren't some hidden container for those extra dimensions. They are the movie projector. They're the lens that's taking information from that higher reality and focusing it down into the movie that we call our universe. So, if our reality is a projection, a movie, how's it made? Well, it seems to follow a really precise 3-step creative cycle. It all starts with what they call sound. Now, this isn't sound like we hear it. It's a perfect, pure vibration in a higher dimension. It's pure potential. Then, step 2. The moment something observes that vibration, the perfect symmetry breaks and it collapses into light. And this light is basically pure information, the data for what's about to be created. Then, finally, step 3, that light gets slowed down, compressed, until it hardens into matter. See? The information is never lost, it just changes its form. All the physical stuff in our universe is, at its core, just trapped light, which was once a pure sound. Wild, right? All right, so any good theory of everything has to deal with the big one, right? Gravity. And you better believe this model reimagines it completely. So we all know Einstein's idea of gravity. You put a bowling ball on a mattress, it makes a dent, and a marble rolls towards it. That's gravity as a passive curvature of spacetime. But in this Tesla-inspired model, it's something totally different. It's an active electromagnetic pressure.
It's described as the in-breath of consciousness, constantly pulling all that projected information, all the light and matter, back towards its source, back to unity. It's not a passive dent, it's an active force of creation.
Okay, I know what you're thinking. This is all pretty out there. It's a beautiful story, but how on earth could we ever even begin to test something like this? Well, the framework actually lays out some really interesting ways we might be able to verify it. For one, you could test if focused human intent, just our thoughts, can measurably influence what happens in quantum systems. Can our minds actually change reality? Another path is looking at quantum entanglement, that spooky action at a distance. This model says it's not spooky at all. It's just proof that those two particles were never really separate to begin with. They're still connected up in that higher dimension. And finally, they propose experiments to see if a large group of people, all focusing on the same thing, can influence random number generators. That would be direct evidence of consciousness as a real creative force in the universe.
And this is where it all comes together. You've got the flipped equation, you've got projected dimensions, the creative force of gravity. It all weaves together into what they call the Great Synthesis. This could be the kind of unified field theory that Tesla was hunting for his entire life.
This table just lays out the whole paradigm shift perfectly. On one side, you have the universe we're taught in school. Energy is extracted, dimensions are hidden, gravity is just geometry, and consciousness, well, it's just a weird byproduct of our brains. But on the other side, in this new view, energy is generated, dimensions are projected all around us, gravity is an active force, and, this is the big one, consciousness is a fundamental force that is actively selecting our reality into being. And that brings us to the final, ultimate question that this whole idea leaves us with. Are we just passive observers? Are we just living in a universe that was already made? Or are we active participants? Are we co-creators who are generating reality moment by moment with the power of our own minds? The answer, according to this vision inspired by Tesla, could literally change everything.